Well, good evening, Central Georgia. So all of the storms and the showers that we experienced throughout today, they're starting to fizzle out. Now our eyes are set on the main line of storms that we're expecting tomorrow afternoon. So of course we have a weather impact alert for that time. Let me bring the graphics just to show you what to expect. Here we go. I'm going to take that full screen. Here we go. So we're expecting a line of strong storms, and this is due to a cold front moving in. And anytime you have a cold front with the differences in warm and cold air, that's going to cause widespread storms. And the thing is, with this line of storms, we could definitely see some widespread severe weather with this front. So that's why we have that weather impact alert. So what are the specific impacts? Strong and damaging winds of up to 60 miles per hour, especially if you're within a severe thunderstorm warning. Widespread rain. Rain could definitely range from an inch to an inch and a half. And of course, with any springtime system, we could see some possible spin-up tornadoes. But thankfully, the chances are relatively low as compared to the past couple of weeks. So here are the temperatures all across central Georgia. It's still relatively warm outside, into the upper 60s, flirting with the 70s. And with the humidity, they're muggy. These are the values that we could typically see in the summertime as well. Now, they're not necessarily muggy, but it's still a lot of moisture and humidity needed for storms to develop. Thankfully, we took away daytime heating. The sun has set, so that's why the storms have fizzled out. And the satellite radar actually shows this. All of the storms that we had throughout the afternoon, well, most of them are gone. We're now mostly dry all across our area, and that was because of the sun setting. But even with the sun setting, the temperatures and the humidity are still there, and that will linger throughout the overnight. So for tonight, I put a rumble of thunder as possible. I might change that for the 11 o'clock show. This was expected. As I mentioned, with the sun setting, that's taking away the ingredients needed for storms to develop. So I think I'm going to decrease our rain chance for tonight and for the rest of the overnight. And I want to show you the SPC outlook for today, because I think this will paint a really good story, especially of what to expect for tomorrow. So of course we didn't have an SPC outlook for central Georgia. That was good, and we didn't see any severe thunderstorms. But for the majority of the Midwest and for the majority of the South, they were under a level 3 out of 5 risk for severe weather, and this was associated with the same front that we're going to see tomorrow. So I think this is really interesting because they sort of received the action before we did. They received it before us, and that makes our job a little easier because we can see what occurred in those areas and we can compare it to what the models are saying for tomorrow afternoon. So here's the satellite and radar in terms of what the front is doing right now. So that big red polygon, that's a tornado watch. That's not a tornado warning. But we do have a couple of tornado warnings just north of Memphis. Let's see if I could use the pointer. There we go. Actually, that didn't work. But we have a tornado warning in Memphis. But most of the things is severe thunderstorm warnings, widespread severe thunderstorm warning polygons along the leading edge of the front. And I think that's going to be the writing of the wall for tomorrow. I think our impacts will be mainly associated with severe thunderstorms that could cause gusty winds along the leading edge of the front. So here are the outlooks for tomorrow. The main change from yesterday to today is the upgrade from a level 2 to a level 3, and this is for all of central Georgia. And level 3 out of 5 outlooks for central Georgia, they're relatively rare. For reference, we only had 2 level 3 out of 5 risks last year. And that was actually around this time last year, the first week of April. And then we had a level 3 for the first week of May. Both of them caused tornadoes. I think the tornado chances are lower for this system than the systems that we experienced for the level 3s that we experienced last year. Now, of course, we did receive a level 3 recently, and that was due to the system that we experienced 2 weeks ago. And we did have a tornado warning, but the National Weather Service said that there was no evidence that a tornado touched the ground in Baldwin County. So that is the outlook for tomorrow. Here's the future view. So I showed you the satellite and radar of the front moving through Indiana and portions of Missouri. It's expected to continuously move overnight through Tennessee, through Kentucky, portions of Mississippi and Alabama. And then by 6 in the morning, that's when it's going to sort of break apart. I mean, it's spent a long time without daytime heat. You're taking away the ingredients, so this front is going to weaken in nature during this time. But once the sun rises, it's going to experience a strengthening. You're bringing back the heat and the warmth back into our area. And I'm going to bring back the future view that shows central Georgia in a wider view. And as you can see, re-strengthening after its initial weakening phase, moving into Atlanta by 10 to 11, and then moving into our northwestern counties such as Taylor, Upson, Monroe, Jasper County, 11 to even midday. So that's the overall timing. I think it could be as early as 10 in the morning. We've seen the future view graph model fluctuate in terms of the timing. It's been pretty consistent for the past couple of days. That's why I'm more confident that the timing will be from 11 to noon for the northwestern counties, but there is room for change for tomorrow. Macon's timing, noon to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, continuously moving east through the afternoon, so 2 o'clock moving through the southern counties, Wilcox, Dodge, Pulaski, going into Lawrence County. The future view also shows something interesting. It shows it breaking apart and re-strengthening down to the south. This is one of the things that the models have sort of fluctuated it in with. There hasn't been much agreement in terms of this. I do think it will be more organized in nature for tomorrow afternoon. And you can see 4 o'clock moving into the southeastern counties, Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery, re-strengthening there. By 5 to 6, that main line will then depart from our eastern counties. And there's one interesting thing that the National Weather Service has highlighted. They highlighted that there is a chance for a second line to develop, and it's pretty hard to see, but around 7 o'clock, notice around Atlanta, there's a line of sprinkles that's developing, and then it breaks apart. Sorry, I'll just zoom forward a little bit. It breaks apart by 9 o'clock, and it doesn't even enter central Georgia. That's because that line will form a little bit later in the evening, and once of course the sun sets, just like what we're experiencing right now with the storms that are fizzling out in our area, that second line does not have a chance to survive because the heat is being removed from those storms. So that's why I am not having much concern in terms of a second round of rain and storms for central Georgia. So that's the timing, and that's what we can expect for tomorrow afternoon in terms of the timing of the storms. Here's the other model, and I just want to show you this just to show you the disagreement in regards to the future view graph model and the high resolution model. This model shows that the line of storms will be way more organized, and you can see just a straight line moving into our area. The timing very similar to the other model, but the only difference is it's just an organized line with no separation, no disorganization within the leading edge. So I think the storms tomorrow will be a little bit of a mix of these two models. I don't think it's going to be a perfect line. I think there will be some disorganization within the front, but I do think it will be way more organized than the future view graph model in terms of what it shows. So of course, with any springtime system, the main question that I always receive is, what are the tornado chances? So here's one of the models that show the tornado chances for tomorrow. This doesn't show a scale, but I want to show you for reference, the lighter the color or the more white the colors are, the lower the chances. So if you see gray, white, that means the chances are relatively low. Things to look out for in terms of high tornado chances in terms of this model are yellow, oranges, or more colors that are different from the normal white shade that's shown here. So as you can see, it's just gray and that white shade, meaning that the tornado chances are relatively low for this system. by 6 o'clock, you could see that some yellow wants to be filtered in for the western counties, but I really don't buy it. Here's the other model. This is the high resolution model that shows the tornado potential as well. And this one actually has a scale. So it shows low is white, and then the greener is higher chances, yellow is a decent chance. Once you get to red and purple and pink, that's when you'll have really high chances. And as you can see, nothing impressive. It's just white, maybe some lighter shades of green, but all in all, nothing that really stands out and really tells me that we're really going to have tornadoes tomorrow. All this says is the models are in agreement that our tornado chances are relatively low. That doesn't mean that we can't see tornadoes. I think we could see some tornado warnings, definitely some areas of rotation. And if we do see any tornadoes happen, I think there'll be brief spin-up tornadoes where they'll touch the ground and then they'll last for only a couple minutes and then they'll pick right back up into the sky and leave faster than they developed. So that's the tornado outlook for tomorrow. Rainfall, these models have been all over the place. So as you can see, it shows less than a half an inch for the northern counties, and then for the south showing an inch and a half. These models have been truly inconsistent. The main message I have for the rainfall totals for tomorrow is that I don't think everyone will see the same amount of rainfall totals. I think they'll definitely fluctuate. I think the range will be an inch to an inch and a half. Some places could see lower values, and some places could see maybe locally higher values. But in general for central Georgia, I think it'll be an inch to an inch and a half. The thing that's not really helping the rainfall totals is that, as you saw from the models, this storm is going to be a really fast mover, faster than some of the past systems that we experienced in the past couple of months, where it will move into our area. On that leading edge, of course, it'll have the strongest and the hardest amounts of rain, and then it will just immediately move through. And on the back end, you could have some lingering sprinkles or showers, but it won't be enough to really increase the rainfall totals. So that's one of the things that could limit the overall rainfall total for tomorrow. Here are the temperatures. And the reason why I'm showing you the temperatures is because just like what we're seeing right now, temperatures are really important for storm development. The higher the temperature, the warmer the weather, the better these storms have to become stronger. And this is, of course, the main reason why we have a level 3 out of 5 risk for tomorrow is because it's happening in the middle of the day. So temperatures will be relatively high. And let me show you what they're going to be tomorrow around midday, into the upper 70s, near 80 degrees. So that's just enough in terms of warm weather to supply these storms with enough fuel to really fire up. Now, the reason why this is also a little bit concerning is because the instability, the fuel, will be really high because of how high these temperatures are. And as compared to the past systems that we typically see in the overnight and during the nocturnal hours, these temperatures are not necessarily there. So that's why these storms have a higher potential to pack a stronger punch than some of the other storms that we've seen in the past couple of months. So it'll be in the upper 70s. Once the front moves in, it will overwork the atmosphere. So we can see the temperatures back into the lower 70s. And then they could recover a little bit by 7, 8 o'clock. See them back into the upper 70s. But as I mentioned, that's the time when the sun sets and you're removing that daytime heat, which is extremely crucial for these storms to survive. So that's why I'm not really concerned about a second round of rain and storms. The only way I'll be concerned is if that second round occurs a little bit too quickly after that first line, say like only a couple hours, like 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock. That's when we'll start to increase our concern. Here's the humidity. This moisture is extremely important towards the storm's development. Still relatively humid. We have light shades of green. And then we have right here on the south near Panama City, that's called the low-level jet. You'll see darker shades of green being injected into our area out around the time that front is moving in. So that could cause the storms to fire up even more, because that's just another ingredient needed for storms to develop. So here's what we call the CAPE value. So I've been mentioning For storms to develop, you need moisture and you need temperatures. That energy combined for storms to develop is called convective available potential energy. You don't really have to memorize that term. Just know that the darker the yellow, the higher the energy is for storms to develop and for storms to tap into. So as you can see, before that front moves in, the energy is at its highest. It's relatively high for this time of year, and it's way higher than some of the other storms that we've seen in the past couple of months. And this is truly because this is happening when the sun is out and the temperatures are at their warmest, and that will heat up the ground and cause for fuel to be available for the storms to develop. All right, so here is a quick overview of the weather impact alert. So the weather impact alert is for tomorrow afternoon. Now, in terms of the timing I mentioned, it could happen a little bit earlier for the westernmost counties, say 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning. But for most of central Georgia, we're going to experience this throughout the afternoon, and it's a quick mover. That's a good thing. So you could experience the worst of the impacts for, say, 20 to 30 minutes. It's not going to last for a couple of hours. Of course, the impacts, gusty winds, straight line winds of up to 60 miles per hour, especially if you're in a severe thunderstorm warning or if you're experiencing severe weather. It could also be locally higher. It could be maybe 70 miles per hour. Tornado chances relatively low, but not zero. And the hail could be larger than an inch in diameter. So of course the need, stay weather aware. The positive of this happening in the middle of the day is that most of everyone will be awake during this time. So you'll be able to be aware and receive alerts without having to remind yourself to wake up at the specific time or having anxiety that you're not going to wake up during an alert. Well, we know that you're going to be awake, probably at work during this time. So, and it's also good because hopefully you'll be indoors during work if a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning occurs. So that's the positive of the storms happening in the daytime. 7-day forecast shows that the beautiful weather will return on Tuesday. We could see some scattered rain for Wednesday and Thursday. And then for the end of the week, temperatures are going to be scorching hot. Definitely the warmest we've seen so far this year. We could potentially see some 90s in the forecast. So we'll keep an eye on that. Summer-like weather for sure. And it's only the start of spring. So we'll see what the rest of spring has for us in terms of temperatures. So I'm going to go on Facebook, answer your questions. That was just the brief summary of what to expect for tomorrow. So let's see. All right. So Cassandra Heath, how long is the storm going to last in Macon? So this is a fast mover. I want to say 20 to 30 minutes. And I've seen those satellite and radar, and I'm just going to show you, I'm going to go back to the satellite and radar just to show you how thin some of these storms are and how thick some other areas are. So as you can see, in between Louisville and Cincinnati, they're only experiencing the leading edge of the storm. So for those areas, they're experiencing the impacts for, say, half an hour. If places in Bowling Green will experience the storms in the next couple of minutes, they could have longer lasting periods of rain because of that back end of the storm that's just producing more moisture and more rain to develop. So I think in terms of the impacts, seeing the gusty winds of up to 60 miles per hour could be up to 30 minutes, maybe as short as 20 minutes. But it's a fast moving storm. So that's the positive, especially for Macon. Steve Sumner, what's it like for Wilcox County? So Wilcox County, and this is just for most of everyone in central Georgia, we could see severe thunderstorm warnings. This is associated with the line, so the impacts will be widespread, just like what they're experiencing in Kentucky. So I'm going to go back to the future view just to show you the timing, because it's going to be a little bit later than some of the other counties. Here you go. So in Wilcox County, the future view graph model shows 2 o'clock. Could be as early as 1, or it could be as late as 3 o'clock. My bet, especially with this model, will be around the later portion of 2 o'clock, closer to 3. Sylvia Harrison Wilson, what time should we expect the first round of storms? So depends on where you live. If you live in the western counties, could be from 11 to 1 o'clock. If you live in Macon, midday to 2 o'clock. If you live in the eastern counties, I'd say 2 to 4 o'clock. And then I think it will leave for everyone at around 5 to 6 o'clock in the evening. What's like in Centerville, Georgia? Okay, so yeah, Centerville, Houston County, similar timing to Bibb County, actually a little bit later, but it could be as early as 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. I think it'll be closer to 2 o'clock. And just like the rest of central Georgia, having winds maybe at up to 60 miles per hour, there is a chance that you could avoid and dodge a severe thunderstorm warning. That would be great. But I think most of our area would be under a severe thunderstorm warning for tomorrow. And I think winds of up to 60 miles per hour is definitely possible for Centerville. What about the time for Milledgeville and Sparta? So Milledgeville, since this line is tilted towards the northeast, Milledgeville is going to actually have it a little bit earlier than some of the other counties. So 1 to 2 o'clock, I'd say in the middle of 1 o'clock, could be as early as midday. That's definitely a possibility, and could be as late as 2 o'clock. But I think around that time, 1 to 2 o'clock, Milledgeville will see it. And in terms of Sparta, similar time as well. So all clear by 5 to 6 latest. It's definitely looking more likely that we're going to be all clear by that time. And we'll be hoping that the second line just doesn't develop at all. I don't think so. I really don't, but hopefully we don't receive a second round. What about actually, I'm going to start off by Monroe County. That question was ahead, and then I'm going to get back to you, Jackie. So Monroe County is going to receive it at around midday as well. Could be as early as 11. Once again, you'll be one of the first counties to receive it. And the same thing for Lamar County. Lamar and Monroe are right next to each other. So Lamar will receive it first, but not by much. Maybe by 20 to 30 minutes before Monroe County. But by 11 to 1 o'clock. Hawkinsville. All right, Hawkinsville. Hawkinsville could receive it, I'd say 1 to 2 o'clock. And it could be a little bit earlier. But so like it could be at 1 o'clock earliest, 3 o'clock latest. What about Lawrence County? So Lawrence County, by 3 o'clock is the most likely time, but it could be as early as 2 and could be as late as 4 o'clock. Now I saw a comment that said that someone's going to receive more rain. It appears Hawkinsville will get more rain than Warner Robins. This model shows it breaking apart for like the most northern counties. I really don't buy it. I think there will be some disorganization, but all in all, it's still way too early to tell which areas will receive more rain than others. So Warner Robins could receive way more rain than Hawkinsville, and the latter could be true. What's the impact on Atlanta? So Atlanta, I don't think it will be as bad for Atlanta, and here's why. Because for Atlanta, the storms will be weakening throughout the overnight, and you'll only have a couple hours after the sun rises to have these storms really strengthen and truly tap into the energy from the sun. So I don't think the storms from Atlanta will be as strong as the storms that we're going to experience here in central Georgia, but I still think it could be rather inclement to experience during that time. But of course the impacts are the same. I think you could see multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. Same thing, winds up to 60 miles per hour, but I think the potential is lower for Atlanta. Timing for Forsyth, so 11 to 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm just going to pull it right there. 11 to 1 o'clock, most likely midday, but definitely the times can fluctuate. But it looks most likely that'll be around midday. What about Bibb County? All good. Bibb County, midday at the earliest. Looks likely to be at around 1 o'clock, latest 2 o'clock. And then 2 Lawrence County, what about Dublin? It's good, I'm just riding the marker through. There we go, there's Lawrence County. 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. This model shows 3 o'clock, but I'm giving that 2-hour window just in case, but just prepare for that time between 2 to 4. Taylor County. All right, time to go back. There you go. My friends at Taylor County, so I'd say noon. It could be as early as 11, but most likely noon, and could be as late as 1 o'clock in the afternoon. McRae. People of Telfair, love them. McRae will be one of the last people to see these storms. So it could be around 3 o'clock, 3 to 4 o'clock. And you have the low potential of seeing it at around 2. But I'd say the timing 2 to 4 o'clock depends on how fast the storm really moves. If it moves quickly, I could definitely see it at the later portions of 2 o'clock. And then Robins Air Force Base, Warner Robins, the beautiful Robins Air Force Base. So this model shows 1 o'clock, could be as early as the back end of noon, and it could be as late as 2 o'clock. And then, let's see, Telfair County, going back to Telfair. All right, Telfair County, around 3 o'clock, and it could be as late as 4, but it depends on how fast it moves. If it moves faster than expected, definitely 2 o'clock is possible. Twiggs County, seeing that double comet. Don't worry. So Twiggs County could experience it a little bit later than Macon, so 1 to 2 o'clock. And if it moves faster than expected, the later portions of midday. Heck, what the big city? What about Spalding? Okay, Trutland County. I did not forget about you. All right, Trutland County, just like the other big three, such as Telfair, Wheeler, and Montgomery, Trutland will be one of the last places to see these storms. It's showing 3 o'clock, and it could linger to 4 o'clock, but if it moves fast, like some of the other systems that we've seen in the past year, could be as early as 2 o'clock, which is a good thing because that means that it will move faster, it will get out of our area as quick as possible, and we will always like to see that. And as I mentioned, Deborah Hughes, does it look like a fast mover? It does look like a fast mover, thankfully. Faster than some of the other systems that we've seen this past year. Jones, Bibb, and then someone else says Bleckley, so I'll just try to answer that in one phrase. So starting off with Bibb and Jones, I'd say it could be at the later portions of midday, but looking likely 1 o'clock, latest 2 o'clock. Same thing for Jones. And then Bleckley County, just under Twiggs, and I think could be around 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, but if it moves faster than expected, maybe the back end of 1 o'clock. And for the person who just asked Twiggs County, hopefully I just answered you. So it could be the window for Twiggs County at 1 to 3 o'clock. And then going back to Lawrence County. So Lawrence County could be from 2 to 4 o'clock, most likely 3 o'clock. And if it moves faster than expected, maybe the later portions of 1 o'clock. But I'd say the general time would be from 2 to 4 o'clock. I missed it. When is it supposed to hit Houston and Pulaski? So a little later than Bibb County, since it has a northeastern tilt. but I think could be as late as 2 o'clock, but the overall timing should be at 1 o'clock, earliest possible 12:30 to noon. Donna, Taylor County, one of the first people to see it. It could be maybe in the back end of the morning, so back end of the 11 o'clock hour, but I think it will go into Taylor County by noon. Is it supposed to hit Peach County? So this is supposed to be widespread. I think everyone in central Georgia will see at least rain, and hopefully not everyone will see severe thunderstorm warnings or severe thunderstorms at all. I think that is very possible that some people could avoid seeing severe weather, and that will be amazing. I'm really hoping for that. But as it stands, it looks like we're going to have just a constant line of severe thunderstorm warning polygons just lined up, and I think everyone will see at least some severe weather. But hopefully it's not as bad for Peach County or for anyone in central Georgia. Hopefully we could just see just this weaken tremendously, and this will just be a couple of showers. And of course, yeah, we sure need it to wash away the pollen. Absolutely. I mean, that's of course a positive. Look at it, I guess, half the glass with the water half full. Great optimistic view. Yeah, this will definitely wash away the pollen, so that's good. And I hopefully you experienced some of the rain today, and you received some of that quick wash from the car, especially from the pollen. What about tornadoes? Okay, yes, tornadoes. I'm going to go back to the tornado potential. I think that's the first question I've seen that's not timing. So in terms of tornadoes, this is relatively low. This is lower than what we experienced with that system moving in 2 weeks ago. It's still not zero. There is a chance that we could see tornadoes, but based off what I'm seeing from the model, so here's a high resolution tornado potential, and it shows a relatively low tornado chance with the light shaded greens at most. I think it's still possible, but if it does happen, we'll see spin up tornadoes that could touch the ground for a couple minutes and then go back up, and they'll be weak in nature. Janet, Crisp County, how late or how bad is it going to be? I came in late. So yeah, Crisp County, they could see the potential of seeing some strong straight line winds up to 60 miles per hour. In terms of the timing, a little later than your western neighbors from Macon and Taylor County. I'd say likely around 2 o'clock, could be as early as 1 o'clock, and it could be as late as 3 o'clock. The trend that I've seen from the timing of this model is that it likes to go a little bit earlier than expected. So I'm always leaning towards an earlier arrival time. So it could be 1 to 2 o'clock. Okay, I think I heard the door open a little bit. So I think I'm going to stay for the next couple of 5 minutes. Let's say 9:40, I'll sign off. So I'll answer a few questions here. So Stacy said, what's the timing for the storms for Macon and Peach County? Okay, so Macon and Peach County actually could see the storms around the same time due to the northeastern tilt. So I'd say it could be as early as noon, but this model shows that it's likely to arrive at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it also could be as late as 2 o'clock, but I'm leaning towards noon to 1 o'clock for both Peach and Bibb County. This Brandon Bender, David, are we going to be all right? I think we're going to be all right, and I think that's a great question to ask. Of course, whenever I say the information in regards to the impacts of the storms, it sounds a little scary. I think the concern was greater 2 weeks ago. I'll tell you that. It was way greater 2 weeks ago, especially with portions of Upson County under a level 4, and then seeing that level 5 in Alabama. We just didn't know how strong these storms will be. The potential was really high. I think this system that we're going to experience tomorrow will be similar to some of the systems that we experienced already this year. They'll have gusty winds for a brief period, and then for the rest of the afternoon, could see some light sprinkles, but nothing too crazy. So as long as you take the necessary precautions, I think you'll be good. Okay, going back to Milledgeville. What about Milledgeville, Baldwin County? There you go. So it could be as early as noon. I'd say 1 to potentially 2 o'clock. Looks like Perry is good. Bring on the hail. Dumb question. What are the risks for severe thunderstorm warnings? That's not a dumb question, Angel. That's a great question. So the risk for severe thunderstorm warnings, 3 things that you need for severe thunderstorm warning to occur. So one of them is hail over 1 inch in diameter. That's definitely possible tomorrow. But the main thing is winds over 60 miles per hour. That's probably the most likely scenario for severe thunderstorm warnings to occur. And I think that will be the case for tomorrow. Just strong straight line winds. Can you run it back towards the I-85 corridor over Columbus? Yeah, okay. So I assume, there you go. So Columbus, I think you'll receive it in the morning. I don't think it'll be as strong. I really don't think it'll be as strong because it'll be a couple hours after sunrise. So it'll have only a few hours to really tap into the fuel from the heat of the day. Warner Robins, moving towards Houston County. Warner Robins could be as early as noon. That depends on how fast these storms move, but most likely from this model, 1 o'clock. Seeing a question, Cordele. Okay, Cordele, around that same time, 1 to 2 o'clock. I'm leaning more towards the back end of 1 o'clock, but 2 o'clock is definitely a likely scenario as well. Thomaston, first question from Upson County. So Thomaston, they will be one of the first people to see the storms. So Thomaston will see it at around 11, could be as early as 10 o'clock, but I think 11 will be the most likely timing. And then it'll continuously move through as you end the morning. Crawford County. So Crawford County around noon, could be as early as the back end of 11, but noon to 1 o'clock is the most likely scenario. Will it lose intensity like the last storm or stay how it is? So that's another great question, Mark. The thing is with this system is that it's going to lose intensity during the overnight. So this system is actually over Kentucky right now, and it's moving towards the east. So around this time, this is nighttime, just like, as you mentioned, the other systems that we've seen that happen in the overnight and that move into the overnight, they lose steam because they're away from the sunlight. The reason why we're under a level 3 for this system is because it's moving in the middle of the day. So I don't think it will lose intensity. I think it will do the opposite. I think it will gain intensity throughout the afternoon. Okay, Johnson County, or I'm going to start off by Shannon, Forsyth, and then I'll get to you, Ashley, with Johnson Lawrence. But Forsyth, actually, it's going over Monroe County as of right now. Perfect timing. Could be as early as 11 o'clock. Midday is the most likely scenario, and it could be as late as 1 o'clock. Ashley, Johnson County, and Lawrence County. Actually, both counties could receive the storms around the same time. So it could be as early as the back end of 1 o'clock, depending on how fast it moves, but 2 o'clock is the most likely scenario, and it will move throughout 2 to 3 o'clock. Washington County, which is just near, and I think because of that northeastern tilt, they'll receive the storms earlier than Lawrence County, even though you're technically considered more east than Lawrence County. But you'll receive it a little bit more earlier, and you could see it actually for the back end portion of 1 o'clock, most likely 2 o'clock, and then it will progressively move through 2 to 3 o'clock. Now, one thing that you're probably seeing is that it shows that it's breaking apart in Washington County. This is one of the things that our models have been disagreeing about, whether it will disorganize or whether it'll be a perfect line of storms. I think you will see storms in Washington County, even with the model showing that you're barely going to see anything. I think you will see some stuff. But it may not be as perfect as some of the other models. Wilkinson County. Okay, so Wilkinson County, I'd say could be as early as 1 o'clock, and then it could move throughout the 2 o'clock hour. So timing 1 to 3 o'clock. Hancock County, just like, actually a little bit earlier than Washington County. 1 to potentially 2 o'clock. Very similar timing to what Macon is seeing, and that's because of that northeastern tilt of the storms. Houston County a little bit later, so I'd say 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Same thing for Twiggs County, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And then Doris, what about Sunday overnight? Okay, I'll answer your question. I'm just going to say this. I said I was going to go off at 9:40, but I'm changing my mind. 9:45, I'll get off. So, okay. So to answer your question, Doris, I think all the storms tonight and the overnight, they're done. Our storm chances are done. We could celebrate that. So as you can see, the satellite and radar shows absolutely nothing, and I think it will stay like this. Maybe a sprinkle is possible, but all in all, not anything compared to what we saw earlier this afternoon. So hopefully that answers your question. Going back to the future view, since everyone wants to know the timing. Okay, Emmanuel County. So, and then the person asked, play it all the way to Emmanuel County. So, Emmanuel County, of course, will be one of the last counties to see it. So I'd say they could see some lingering rain, but the leading edge, that provides the strongest of the impacts, will at least be gone by 4 to 5 o'clock. And this is for Emmanuel County. And of course, with Emmanuel County seeing it depart from them, that means all of central Georgia as well will be clear, or should be clear from severe weather at that time. We just have a low risk of seeing a second round. But it will be during the late night, and that will remove the ingredients such as heat. So it will definitely weaken, just like the storms that we saw earlier. Okay, so going to answer a couple of questions. Albany going to see it 1 to 2 o'clock, and then it'll move throughout 3 o'clock. Taylor County, so Taylor County will see it, could be as early as the late 11 o'clock hour, but it should be around 12 o'clock in the afternoon, so around noon. Thank you so much, Deborah. So yeah, and exactly, the timing that's shown within this model, I doubt it's going to be for sure. That's why it's better to just give a window. A 2-hour window is always a safe bet. All right, what about Wilkinson County? And I also saw Bibb County, so I'll answer that too. What about Wilkinson County? 1 to 2 o'clock. And it could be as early as maybe the later portions of midday, depending on how fast these storms move. Getting to Bibb County from noon to 2 o'clock, most likely window. Now, Caleb, looks like Emmanuel and Trutland is going to get hit hard. It depends on multiple factors. We're hoping that it could choke itself out. Sometimes storms like this, when it depends too much on the heat, it just becomes a little bit too strong and it just removes its heat from itself. So that could be a possibility, but it could also be a possibility that it'll be also stronger in Trutland County than what it was towards the west. So It is 9:45 right now, so I think it's really time to go because I have the 11 o'clock show in 1 hour. So I'm going to pull it back to the full screen. But I'm always glad to answer your questions. I received a bunch of comments saying thanking me for my patience. This is my job. This is truly it's an honor trying to keep you informed throughout the event. So, of course, with any other system, I always close out by saying the same thing. It's always best to be prepared and don't be scared. And I actually really mean it, especially for this system, because even though we're in a level 3, I think it will be weaker than some of the other systems that we've seen that were under a level 3 as well. So I'd say a low-end level 3 for this system, but still it's great to be weather aware for tomorrow afternoon, and I hope that you'll stay safe throughout the entire event. Thank you and good night.